Martin Popoff from the Contrarians here, back again with another edition of Reliving Old Reviews is a Useless Tool of Confusion. This is the short show where we look at an old review and see if the writer got it right on an album or a band that became absolutely massive, an album that became a milestone album over the years. You've seen, we've got lots and lots of episodes of this up already. Today, we're just going to do a short one. This is from Rolling Stone, June 20th, 1974. It's a review of Queen 2 by Ken Barnes. So I'm just going to look at this. We're going to react to it and see if the writer kind of got this right about Queen 2 in Rolling Stone, right? Okay, so here he goes. Ken says, Queen is a reasonably talented band who have chosen their models unwisely. On side Black, they venture into a lyrically muddled fairy tale world with none of Genesis' wit or sophistication. So yeah, he's noticing, obviously, kind of a cool thing about this, not that it really matters, because Freddie's writing and Brian's writing on this album are kind of like they're thinking the same, right? It's a little bit like that whole Bruce Dickinson, Steve Harris are the same guy kind of thing. So yeah, there's not a massive difference, I don't think, between these two sides, but he's bringing up Genesis. So again, what we like about, what I find interesting in doing this show is this idea that you've got this this situation where, what can you compare these bands to? What is out there, sort of thing. So yeah, he's comparing it to Genesis. Okay, so let's move on here. They've also appropriated the most irritating elements of Yes's style: histrionic vocals, abrupt and pointless compositional complexity, and a dearth of melody. Side White is quite an improvement, containing many of the same muddled tendencies, but with the saving grace of timely and well-chosen power chords and some rather pretty tunes. But the album remains a floundering and sadly unoriginal affair, says Ken Barnes. So yeah. Obviously, Queen is a totally tiny band at this point. They're not famous at all. They'd have some hits on Sheer Heart Attack, and then obviously they'd get bigger and bigger and bigger throughout all those albums. But typically this is the same kind of thing we said about Rush, right? What does Rolling Stone not like? They don't like prog. They don't like hard rock. This is prog and hard rock, and he's not liking any of it. He's only comparing it to some prog bands. So that's kind of interesting. He's almost kind of thinking of Queen as being a prog band, comparing them to Genesis and Yes. And again, breaking up the side thing here. This brings up, I've been watching some of Andy Edwards' videos lately, and he's done this series on the most overrated bands, and he's not much of a Queen fan, right? But I think he kind of gets it wrong about Queen. But he does make a point that when he's disparaging Queen, he sort of makes the point that that Queen was a possibly a little bit of a contrived, even slightly unoriginal pastiche of prog rock and Led Zeppelin and things, and putting it all together in an appealing package, or maybe not so appealing package, according to Andee. But I've always said that Queen is absolutely genius through the 70s. This is their album that is a little bit like their Caress of Steel, where it's a little bit of a drop back. I mean, I think Queen 1 had much more excitement than Queen 2 did, more to pick out and more to love about it. And then they kind of refined the songwriting a little more in Sheer Heart Attack, and then moving into A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races. But yeah, this is a very negative review. Obviously, bringing up the fairy tale world lyrics, well, that kind of makes sense as well. It is definitely kind of proggy in that way. So yeah, I think Queen 2, obviously, it should get more credit for being, one of these prototype progressive metal albums. We usually give that to Rush coming in with Fly By Night or Caress of Steel, but Fly By Night, this is 1974, so they're right in there with kind of Rush's debut on this. So there you go. Let us know what you think. Of course, you can go to martinpopoff.com. My 2 Queen books are still both available. The panel book, where we go through every studio album, and then Queen Live, where it's a bunch of live shots. They're both hardcover books. Queen Live is kind of going through every gig, and the other timeline things throughout. It's kind of like one of my timeline books. We can get all that at martinpopoff.com. So this has been another edition of Reliving Old Reviews is a Useless Tool of Confusion.